How is Facebook handling their position as a very influential part of actual politics, actual violence happening in the US and abroad? There are some leaked documents that show what they're doing, and it's not the best. Yeah. So Facebook, there are some leaked documents that got out about how Facebook handles certain things. Right now, this particular instance is regarding American racism, regarding Charlottesville, regarding white supremacy versus white nationalism versus white separatism, which I view to be all very much in the same vein, but Facebook does not. They would consider white supremacy not okay, white nationalism and white separatism fine.
Yeah, that, if you've never thought about these topics before, might seem kind of reasonable. That going on the website and then saying, I believe that white people are better than all other types of people is sort of inherently kind of like, we understand historically underlies a lot of violence. Saying instead that white people deserve a nation or white people should take themselves out and go somewhere seems like, well, they're not calling for violence. They're not calling for another group to lose its rights.
I think in a lot of ways they are, though. I mean, outside of this very narrow definition.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Please expound on that.
Yes, and the thing is, it took a long time, and it was complicated. But it was possible through a lot of hard work for white supremacists to say, okay, I'm a white nationalist now. And now they do that. That's a thing. So making these distinctions, and even Facebook seems to acknowledge that, saying, like they gave examples of what you can't say. You can't say, white supremacy is the great thing. Okay, that's not actually how they operate. And they understand that they have to hide their actual views under these other newer, less politically charged names. But we know that the same people who call themselves white nationalists now were espousing white supremacy before. Do we really think that they've changed in the interim?
I mean, I think it's purposely making yourself kind of ignorant in order to
pretend that you don't understand that distinction?
Yeah, because it's just like, if you're looking outside of this, specific nomenclature, you are seeing a lot of the same hateful actions being committed by members who might identify across all these different groups.
Yeah. My question is, so I think it's ridiculous that they say you can't say you're a white supremacist, you can say you're a white separatist or a white nationalist. Should they be banning any of those, though?
I don't know, because we've been looking at different ways that Facebook handles, for instance, hate speech, or for instance, handles the influence in elections. And you might think, it's not that much, it's not their responsibility as a private media group, but it is massively influential and it is massively corruptible. I think at this point, maybe they do have an obligation.
I really think it depends on the behavior. I think that if people are organizing and calling for violence, which we know has happened on Discord and some of these white nationalist sub-Discords, I'm not sure what they call them.
I mean, Discord is supposed to be for gaming.
Exactly, but it is used by more people outside of that. And we know that some of the Atomwaffen division, one of these white extremist groups that has committed multiple murders, they do organize on there and they do call for violence. I think that if that sort of thing is happening, I don't care if those people call themselves nationalists or separatists or supremacists, the violence is wrong. I think that if they're just saying white people are the best, that's probably not breaking any laws. Now, Facebook does not have to limit itself by regulating behavior that is illegal. They could go beyond that if they want. I'm not sure that that's necessary. I think that they should simply better watch out for organization that is either explicitly or understandably going to lead to violence.
But I mean, we've seen this after, Russian interference, which is you can use Facebook as a tool. You can apply it in a way that perhaps it wasn't intended. Is it their responsibility then?
I don't know. I think that their responsibility is to adapt to the social and psychological and deceptive behavior of hundreds of millions of humans, which is an inherently difficult task.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to remain this agnostic force, which I think at heart they should probably be, most media companies or most online companies probably are. But I mean, there's still going to be ideals that you may want to follow or ideals you may want to just, completely disassociate with. And I would think hate speech and violence would be something you'd want to disassociate with.
I totally agree when it comes to the violence. It's more difficult when you get into what qualifies as hate speech when it is totally absent any calls for violence. That becomes a more difficult thing to judge.
I mean, the Anti-Defamation League has a list of hate groups that they would consider, something you need to at least be wary of. And Facebook doesn't follow that. They kind of just do their own thing, which seems to be, in my opinion, too lenient.
It might be.
Yeah. So it's difficult. I mean, it's a hard task for them to come up with, for sure. At this point, I don't know if they're doing the right thing.
I think that they're a little bit scared because some of their past attempts to regulate fake news and things like that have been not received well. The right is very quick to cry victim, even when, like, they're saying now that their pages are being censored, their traffic is being cut. Statistical analysis shows that that's not actually happening.
Statistical analysis shows that's not true.
I know, but I'm saying that they keep getting attacked, and they have unfortunately bowed down to that sort of public pressure in the past. They seem like they don't want to pick a fight, and they especially don't want to pick a fight with the right because the right is more likely to complain. Just
don't be a coward. That's all. If you're going to have an ideal, stick to it. That's my theory. Audience, you might feel different. You might feel angry at me. Try to do it without expressing racism or sexism on Facebook and Twitter.